All right, good evening, everyone. The time is 6:02, and I hereby call this meeting of the Student Government Senate to order. And so we'll begin with a roll call. When I read your name, please say here or present. Martinez. Azan. Rolls. Chenoweth. Everhart. Kloppenstein. Hackbarth. Kuehler. Janes. Reichert. Mahoney. Trotter. Mwesango. Jones. Cecil. Wellman. Momini. Larson. Pursley. Schneider. And with that, we do have quorum for the evening. So with that, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance led by Speaker Hackbarth. It's been moved to add Senator Reichert to the roll. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing none, he shall be sat. And so with that, we'll move on to tonight's Senate program with the Faculty Senate. No?
She is not currently present, and I cannot get a hold of her. So we will need to reschedule that.
Are there any questions about the Faculty Senate program? Seeing no questions, we'll move on to open forum. Open forum shall serve as an opportunity for students to speak about issues relevant to the student body. And so if you're here for open forum tonight, I would ask that you approach the podium at this time. Can we come back after open forum?
I don't know. That's my question.
It's kind of a group, but we already started open forum. Yeah, so we still have our open forum opportunity. If you'd like to speak, we'll circle back in a moment to the Senate program.
Okay, sorry, since we have a short meeting, I wanted to do this. So I'm not sure whose problem this would be. That's why I wanted to bring it up in front of everyone. So as we know, we have like 3 different tiers of sports here. We have like the professional, like the football team, then we have like the intramural teams, and then we have like the club teams. So I'm a part of club softball, and we play out of the Southwest Sports Complex. And it's divided into 2 pieces. So there's Cat Field, which is the baseball field, which has its own like bathroom and its own like concession stand. And then there's the rest of the facility, which is locked up behind a gate, so like no one can access it unless it's unlocked. Anyways, the rest of the facility doesn't have bathrooms or working drinking fountains or handicap accessible bathrooms. Up until this year, there was only 1 porta potty. Anyways, the reason I'm saying this is because we play teams from out of state. So for club softball, we play Kansas State, the University of Kansas, the University of Lincoln, Nebraska. So, Kansas drives 5 hours to play us here at Iowa State. And all the other softball teams have really nice facilities when you get down there. They have working bathrooms, they have drinking fountains. Okay, well, this weekend we had our softball tournament. So anytime we have a softball game, it's 3 games in a row. This Saturday, we're on the field from 7 a.m. till about 4 to 5 p.m. So we're there all day long, and there's no working bathroom or drinking fountains. And some of our players have handicapped family members that can't go to the bathroom on the field. And then it's not just softball that plays at this time. There's also soccer, lacrosse, men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, other sports that I'm not really sure how to play, but they're in the same field, and there aren't any drinking fountains or accessible bathrooms. And I kind of want to somehow get that changed so that when people come, if you're driving 5 hours, you don't really want to be wearing your softball clothes, so they have to stop somewhere and change. But when we go to other schools, we don't have to do that. We can just change on site into our uniforms. Or it's been a long day. We're at the field all day long and we just want to go to the bathroom, but we really can't. Or if we do, we're in really tight softball clothes and we're really sweaty. Or we're really cold and it really sucks to put all those layers up and down when you're in a porta potty. I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention because I know that the Southwest Sports Complex isn't really accessible unless you're on a club team, but I think this is a problem that needs to be addressed. So, thank you.
And so if that open forum is open for any other students or anyone who would like to share any issues. Seeing none, if we can circle back for just a moment, we can go back to tonight's Senate program, learning about the Faculty Senate.
You are fine. While she's pulling that up, I want to apologize for being a minute late. One of my other responsibilities is faculty advisor for the fashion show, and literally had a fashion show meeting end at 6 and this start at 6, so got here as soon as I could. I know the first slide that's on there too is just to introduce myself, so I'll do that while everything's getting set up. My name is Sarah Bennett George. I'm a teaching professor in apparel events and hospitality management. I've been a faculty member at Iowa State since fall of 2011. I started as faculty directly out of grad school and actually did both of my undergrad degrees here as well. So I've been at Iowa State in some capacity, some official capacity since 2002. My primary responsibility outside of my current role as Faculty Senate President is, as I said, faculty advisor and instructor for the fashion show, which is just about the best job anybody could have. But for this year, 50% of my time will be serving as President of the Faculty Senate. I met with President Holliday a few weeks back now, and we kind of realized that there's opportunity for student government and faculty senate to collaborate and work together, but that I don't know if student government is really aware of what faculty senate does. And so we kind of talked about just coming and giving a brief introduction to hopefully help make a connection and see where our two governing bodies can work together. So if you want to flip to the next slide there. So what is Faculty Senate? We are the representative body for the faculty, and what we participate in is shared governance with the administration. So there are lots of things that are our decisions, lots of things that are not our decisions, but that we at least get to have a voice in the decision making. And then we also communicate back out to our constituents. So the three functions of the Senate, the legislative function, I'm sorry, I don't know why this is so feedbacky. The legislative function, there are a few areas that are within control of the Faculty Senate. One is the faculty handbook, which is likely never going to touch student lives unless you have a problem with a faculty member, frankly. But that's sort of our document that we use to self-regulate, self-govern the faculty as a body. We also do have a legislative function as it relates to the catalog, the academic catalog, and the curriculum. So that's really where what Faculty Senate does is going to touch you as students. We also have an advisory function, which is what I mentioned of meeting on a regular basis with upper administration to give input into policy making, and then communication, which is what I was saying about representing or taking the knowledge back to our constituents as representatives. There are 83 faculty representatives in the Senate. 79 of them are senators that represent departments or represent their colleges at large. And then there are 4 officers. I am one of the 4 officers. It's president, president-elect, past president, and secretary. So I don't represent my department. I represent the Senate. And there's a whole structure within that of caucuses, councils, committees that kind of serve all of these functions. Next slide, please. So this is the org chart of the Senate, which shows you kind of a outline of the things that we do. But really in particular, next slide, I want to call attention to the way that student government can really directly participate in the work of the Senate. Yeah, go ahead. And then you can click one more there. So in that box within a box, sorry, I thought that would be colored, on the left, the Academic Affairs Council, that council and the committees within it all are meant to have representatives from student government. So as those decisions are being made about academic policy, about the offering of new programs, discontinuation of current programs, pretty much everything in the catalog, Faculty Senate wants to have voice from the student government in that decision-making process. Next slide there. So the Academic Affairs Council, that is the council right under the Senate as a whole, and then the 4 committees that are listed there: Academic Standards and Admissions, the Curriculum Committee, the Student Affairs Committee, and the U.S. Diversity Course Requirement Committee. All 5 of those groups have a seat reserved for a representative from student government to participate. The Student Affairs Committee is not currently active. It kind of seems like the work that they do has now been absorbed into multiple other places across campus, and we're in communication with the Dean of Students' office to determine the future of that committee, what its role is, or if we discontinue it. But if we are able to get that committee back up and going, student government, we want you there. So if you can click to the next slide. So trying to keep it brief, I just put some QR codes up here that hopefully this can be distributed out to the student government to check out the websites as you're interested. The first one is just the general Faculty Senate website. The next one is specifically the website for the Academic Affairs Council. That's where you can read the charge of that committee, as well as the charge of all, or that council, as well as the charge of all the committees that exist beneath it. Also where you can see the makeup of the committees to see kind of who is there making these decisions, voting on these things, and where the student government seat is. The next 2 are where you can kind of keep an eye on what we're doing in the Senate, particularly as it relates to the academic policies that directly impact the student body. So the meeting dates and agendas, the dates of all of our meetings are up for the rest of the academic year, and approximately a week, 5 days maybe, before each meeting, we'll put the full agenda up on the website for review. And as you look at the things that we're discussing in that particular meeting, you can also reference the docket calendar, which is the last QR code there. That is going to show you exactly what the proposals are that we're going to be discussing and potentially voting on. We also do have a space on every agenda for someone from student government to come to our meeting and talk to us about what you're working on. If you have opinions on any of the policies that we're having first readings on in that meeting, I think it would be a great time to come and share that opinion on behalf of student government. But really what's important to me is that I think the work we're doing in this space are decisions that affect you. And throughout the last year, we didn't have student government voice in these committees, which I think is a shame. And this is something that I would really like to reestablish moving forward, is having your voice present in those discussions, since they're policies that really do affect you directly. So I think that is all of the slides that I had. Are there any questions for me or any comments?
Starting with Senator Janes.
So I guess my first question would be for students who are interested. I know you made some actual phrases of like going to these meetings and sitting there. Is there anything like to officially rejoin those committees, or that's what you do for student government?
I believe that would go through student government. So I would work with your leadership structure, because in the council and all 4 of the committees, there's 1 representative from student government who will be there. They're closed meetings, but meetings that are closed with a space reserved for you. So work with your leadership, and it would be great to have representatives that were on the roster for those meetings to attend on a regular basis.
And then to expand on the student affairs council, you made a comment about how it's like of dubious existence right now. Can you just expand more like why that's going on? Is it because like there wasn't participation, or is it student interest?
I have to be honest, I don't know why. When I started this year and went through my process of looking at all the councils and committees of the Senate as a whole and ensuring that all the representation was happening, not just from student government, but from faculty, frankly, I realized that there were no agendas or meeting minutes up for that committee for the last academic year. So that's been something I'm kind of trying to figure out, to be honest, is exactly putting together the puzzle pieces of why that committee hasn't been active.
And then just thinking for this,
Vice Vice Speaker, sorry, you're sitting where Vice Speaker Campster would normally sit. Senator Mahoney.
So in addition to being the Graduate Center, I'm the Vice President of UPSS, and so I serve on the Graduate Council.
Oh, fantastic.
And obviously, there's a proposal to fold the Graduate Council into Faculty Senate as it stands. And the one concern, I know I'm not voting, but the one concern I sort of have with the proposal is the reduction of the number of student seats from 4 to 1. And I think, especially having been on that council a little bit now, that student voice seems to be relatively important. And so I just was wondering if you could kind of comment on like if there's a way to maybe have a little bit more student involvement in some of the council.
Sure. The proposal that's moving around for that is definitely in the stage of being a proposal. I believe it's had a first reading in the grad council here in September. We'll have a second reading and a vote in October. After that, we do have 2 open forums that we're going to announce, probably to take place in the first couple weeks of November, to receive public comment on that from grad faculty. But I also think that would be a great time for GPSS to come and give that feedback. But we have discussed the fact that this is a big change. And so we would really be dishonest if we had all these opportunities for feedback and it wasn't a product we were willing to make adjustments to. So I think it would be valuable to bring that voice to the open forums, and we can definitely discuss.
Perfect, thank you.
Senator Trotter.
So, with the IRHA, the residential side of things, I obviously don't know exactly what staff is indicated. Would there be any reason for the IRHA committee to, or not committee, just the IRHA, would there be any reason for us to coordinate as well?
I believe the IRHA is probably represented through the PNS Council. Are most of the employees in residence PNS staff rather than faculty? Okay, so yes, I would say that probably PNS Council would be the representative body that you would want to get in touch with. We do try to collaborate with them. I'm trying to kind of build connections with them, just as I'm here trying to build connections with student government this year. But we don't directly make policy that impacts staff. Really, we are self-governing for faculty and for academics.
And with that, moving down the line is on. Senator is on, excuse me.
So, quick question. So if you have, I'm also a grad student, so you know, as a grad student, you have major professor, and in case if you have any concern about major professor, you can work working well about a certain topic, you report that to DOGE and then department chair. So I'm just concerned about what other leadership position exists if you have concern about certain topics and you are not comfortable sharing with your peer.
Sure, I would recommend possibly reaching out to the Associate Provost of Faculty, Don Bratch Prince, or you could look through the faculty handbook, which is the rules and regulations that govern us. And if you go to chapter 7, I believe, if you were to be able to connect your displeasure with the faculty member you're working with to the guidelines for conduct in chapter 7, you could then reach out to, I would say probably the Judiciary and Appeals Chair to discuss whether there is an avenue that you could pursue through chapter 7 of the handbook. I would definitely say that starting with your Doge and starting with your department chair would be the place to start. And I would pursue those options if you did not get a satisfactory resolution through those channels.
Yeah, because I know like some students, especially grad students, who are still like don't feel comfortable talking within the department, you know. So I'm just concerned about maybe there's someone outside of the department because everything travels so fast. If you say something to the department chair, it's most likely that your major professor will know because they do talk with each other.
Sure.
So if someone outside of the department can actually, you know, kind of like support the students if there are
Sure.
serious concerns.
Sure. I would say then probably Judiciary and Appeals would be where I would go. They are bound by confidentiality. Even I, as president, do not know what is happening with any appeals or grievances going through that committee right now because it's all confidential. So they would at least be someone that you could have that initial conversation with if you're feeling uncomfortable in your department.
With that, are there any further questions for the Faculty Senate? Seeing no questions, thank you very much for your program this evening.
Thank you very much.
And so with that, we'll move on to adopting this evening's agenda. Are there any amendments before we do so? Speaker Hackbarth?
Move to add, oh wow, hi. I'll just hold it a little closer. I move to add 2023-2-006F Funding Triathlon Club and 2023-2-007F Funding Men's Lacrosse to the bottom of new business.
So it's been moved to add items 2023-2-006F and 007F to the bottom of new business. Is there a second on that motion? Seeing a second, is there any objection to making those amendments? Seeing no objections, the amendments shall be made. It's been moved and seconded to adopt this evening's agenda. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing none, the agenda shall be adopted. And so if that will move into the approval of last week's minutes, is there a motion to do so? It's been moved and seconded to adopt the minutes. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing none, they shall be adopted. And so with that, we'll move into committee reports, starting with the Rules Committee with Speaker Hackbarth.
All right. So, if you paid attention to your email this week, we have 2 nominees up for Rules Committee this week. We had a really great time interviewing them in Rules, and we think that they're both a really great fit. We are going to need to waive a bylaw to sit them on the committee, as Rules is capped at 5 senators appointed by Senate, and we are currently at 4. But we will make that motion when we are closer to the bill. We also started our bylaw review plan, where we are reading through our bylaws and our governing documents, and we are pulling out parts that are no longer applicable, are outdated, may need a wording change, or anything along those lines, just to try and get everything back to where it should be so that we are operating smoothly and under the proper jurisdiction of our governing documents. That has gone really well. Plan to hopefully see tentatively a bill on first read next week going over the Chapter 1 changes that need to happen. I hope to get that drafted up this weekend and shown to Rules so that we can all do a first read of it this next Wednesday and then vote on it 2 weeks out. Other than that, that is all Rules talked about. We are now meeting in room 2210. It is at the far end of the hall near the elevator where you access the parking ramp is. 6:15 on Monday. If you would like to come and sit in on a Rules Committee meeting, you are more than welcome to join us. And that's all I got.
Are there any questions for Speaker Hackbarth or the Rules Committee? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Finance Committee with Finance Director Hirsch.
Hi, everyone. Finance Committee met yesterday. Our meetings are at 5:15 in room 2210 at the MU. Tonight, you'll see the Triathlon Club, and I believe their treasurer is going to be here very soon. And then also funding men's lacrosse is on first read tonight. We are interviewing 3 senators for the final senator seat for Finance Committee. We are full for at-larges. And we've been doing some work on PNC as well, our governing document for funding clubs. That's all I have.
Are there any questions for Finance? Seeing none, is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak on the PR Committee? Director Patel.
Hi guys, so I'll be talking for PR today. We had a meeting yesterday at 7, and we just talked and ran over everything for PR. We have a meeting next Tuesday at 7. We have yet to determine the location. As for today, we're seating 4 senators and at-larges. Along with that, I'd really appreciate if everybody filled out the form that Senator Everhart sent on the teams. That way we can get payroll and stuff for stugov. And then, what else am I missing? If you could put your birthdays on the MIS, that'd be really appreciated as well. And we're also ready to start the podcast again. So those are about all the updates we got.
So with that, the floor is open for questions, starting with Senator Wellman.
Yeah, so my first question for you, Director Patel, for you. Okay, so you're Director of IT. So my question was like, how are we coming with the website? I know it's not directly related to PR, but it is a big aspect. So I was just kind of curious how it's looking, when maybe we can expect something, on the website, or not that sounded bad. I mean, like when we can expect like the updated version or whatnot.
Yeah, so I'm going to be meeting with Sophie. Can I yield time to Martin?
You can pass over
Or-
to Finance Director Hirsch, yeah.
So I actually have kind of been on it the last couple days here, figuring out the website. I think, like everyone, I'm extremely frustrated, and it's confusing. It's confusing our constituents. It's confusing our peers, and I'm sick and tired of it. So I went and I met with. Well, I left a note for the engineering kind of department, who's in charge of all the IT stuff. He directed me to web development. I drove over there today. I got Cush access to the locker. I got Quinn, Jennifer, and then also, I'm forgetting his last name. Wickham's his last name. He's kind of the master at WordPress at Iowa State is what I've been told. And so basically we're like 33% of the way there. We got in the locker. Now we have to figure out how we can get into WordPress. And then once we get into WordPress, we can update it and make changes, because I think it's time that our website reflects who student government is.
I also just wanted to make a quick note that it's not Director of IT Patel's fault that she hasn't had access to the website. We have seriously been just having behind the scenes issues with the website because, you know, technology is having a brain fart over the past few months. So we are working actively to get access to it. And since this just happened today, we haven't had a chance to give Director of IT Patel an update on it. So yes, thank you.
Senator Trotter.
It's actually a minor update for PR. I just spoke to the Cure radio station. We're looking into broadcasting on the radio station. So if any other looking to set up a weekly broadcast that'll last an hour. So if any other departments end up having basic ideas of things they would want to be talking about semi-reliably, email me and we can make sure to fold that into the ongoing discussion. Thank you. I yield.
And so with that, are there any further questions for PR? Seeing no further questions, we'll move on to our IDEA committee. In the absence of our IDEA director, we'll instead hear from our Director of International Student Experience.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Okay, so I have one update about Cyclone Cinema, which is an initiative that I mentioned when I was up there for my nomination. And so I've been working and connecting with Sub to get a international movie screened, and unfortunately they can't put it in their Cyclone Cinema lineup for the fall because that has already been created. But they did agree to screen an international movie on a separate day. It will be November 6th, which I believe is a Monday. And so with this initiative, my original goal was to have them commit to screening an international movie every semester in their Cyclone Cinema lineup, or at least once a year. And so they are going to gauge whether or not we have a high enough demand for them to commit to that based off of this event coming up next month. And so I would really highly encourage you to tell other people and then also go yourselves so that we have a good turnout at this event. It is a month away, but we will be starting to work on marketing and having a lot of outreach with that, so just keep a lookout for that. Thank you.
Questions starting with Senator Azan.
Quick question. So the World Cup, Cricket World Cup is actually coming up. So have you considered thinking about, broadcasting the Cricket World Cup? Kind of talk with Sub or any other, available resources out there to broadcast that?
Yeah.
This is like a suggestions, you may think about doing this as well.
No, thank you for your suggestion. I am not a super big sports person, so I was not aware that that was coming up. That is something that I can bring up to Sub when I meet with them the next time. I don't think that that's something that they've done in the past, like screening a sports tournament or anything. So I'll look into that and talk to them, but for now, I think the movie screening is a for sure thing.
Thank you. I yield.
So with that, are there any further questions? Seeing no further questions, we'll move on to SI. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to speak on behalf of student initiatives? Senator Rolls.
All right, so hello everybody. Megan couldn't be here today. She has a lot of tests to study for, but pretty much the only thing she told me to mention is that our first meeting will be at 4:30 next Thursday in Jordan. If you wanted to come see us, give it a little ideas, give us some ideas. That's about it.
Are there any questions for SI? Seeing none, we'll move on to local affairs with ex officio clerk.
Hello, everyone. The Local Affairs Committee met last Thursday, where we began work on the AIM Safe Room project. We drafted up a couple posters, and I talked with the mayor a bit, and he forwarded me the emails of a bunch of local bars, and we're going to start trying to get those posters in. So hopefully soon here we'll have a bunch of safe words just in the restrooms. And then 3 weeks from now, we're having a joint meeting with the Ames City Hall. And I want to start beginning a agenda for that. So if you have anything that you'd like to recommend for said agenda, please let me know. And then, yeah, I believe that's it.
Are there any questions for local affairs? Seeing no questions, we'll move on to sustainability with our Director of Sustainability.
Hi, everyone. As of an hour and a half ago, the Sustainability Committee met for the very first time. I'm very excited. Everyone got there like 10 minutes early. It made my heart very happy. And we were essentially just doing a big brainstorm. So nothing super concrete has happened yet, but yeah, we're just gonna start chugging along and doing some really cool stuff. And that's about it. Thank you.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to health and wellness. Is there someone here tonight who would like to represent health and wellness? Senator Kuehler.
Today was pretty huge because we had Party Smart, which was very successful. We had an event that we were technically not affiliated with, but it was for seniors. They were giving away like free hot dogs to seniors and also selling senior mugs. So we were able to play off of each other really well because part of our event was giving out like liquid IV and stuff. So the seniors would like get their mugs and then their hot dogs. And then with a little help of Vice Speaker Kamstra, because he was also there, he just kind of like shepherded the people over to us in ISUPD, which is really cool. So I appreciate that, Vice Speaker Kamstra, even though you're not here. We are also in the process of interviewing senators and at-larges, so we should have bills for those next week, but that's about it.
Are there any questions for health and wellness? Seeing no questions, we'll move on to legislative ambassadors. Is there anyone here tonight who would like to represent legislative ambassadors? Seeing none, we'll move on to the other category. That's something new that we've added this week. We want to give anyone in a committee that's maybe city-oriented, university-oriented, or otherwise not represented a chance to share any of those updates. So we'll start with Senator James.
Yeah. So Cyride reached out to Jeffrey and I in contact of meeting to talk about possibly raising fees for the 2025 year. I was informed that we've already passed the time to raise fees for that time, so we're going to try to pass that information to see if we can get that pushed to 2026. If not, I will keep the Senate informed about what they desire, but obviously final decision will be going to the Special Fees Committee when they meet with them.
Are there any questions for Senator James or any other miscellaneous committee updates? Seeing none, we'll move on to comments from the judicial branch.
Good evening, everyone. The Supreme Court got a chance to meet this last Sunday at 2 p.m. We just kind of talked about our plans and goals for the semester, goals for the year. Right now, we're really working on scanning all of our old case files and filing them and archiving them. It's kind of a big process. And then the Supreme Court is just starting to think about student initiatives like a potential mock trial. So we're going through some of our old cases to find either inspiration or ideas for that. But that's sort of all we've been up to.
And with that, are there any questions for the court? Seeing none, we'll move on to comments from our advisor.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say thank you if you have met with me in the month of September. I asked that from everyone, and you all pretty much met with me. So if you are new within the last few weeks, if you could set up a meeting with me, I'd really appreciate it. It's just to get to know you a little more and see if you have any questions about anything. If you need anything, please send me an email, and I hope you have a good meeting.
Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, we'll move on to comments from the executive branch with President Holliday.
Hi, everybody. I hope you have all had a great week since last Senate. I have a bullet list of 6 announcements to make tonight. So, starting us out, last Thursday, as I mentioned at our last Senate meeting, we had the Board of Regents meeting. So, Director of Governmental Affairs, Becker, Vice President Margaret, and myself went in representation of student government. Also, Eddie was there for GPSS. During the meeting we had with the Board of Regents, we discussed 2 main items, which were mental health and DEI. On the mental health track, we had a great conversation with the board. We talked about mental health awareness, the importance of our resources on campus, and how they impact the students that are currently here. And within our conversations, we recommended to them that they increase their recommendations to the state legislature by $1 million regarding mental health funding, which went through in their vote later that afternoon. So we're looking forward to going to the State House later this year when session begins to advocate for them to push that funding through. So our 3 regent universities can, wow, the microphone just got louder. So the 3 regent universities can hopefully increase the mental health funding and resources we have on campus. The DEI conversation was short but sweet. We learned a lot during it, and we're looking forward to a good process that we are going to have to work hard throughout. The next announcement that I have is related to the Academic Grievances and Appeals Committee. I was recently reached out to. I have regarding open seats on it. There are 4 open seats left on it, and they are open to anybody. You don't even have to be in student government. So if you would like more information on what this committee does, or if you would like to serve on it, reach out to me and we can chat. Next week, Quinn, Stacia, and myself will be meeting with each cabinet member individually because we are going to begin delegating initiatives and projects to them all. So if you are in a committee, be looking forward to some new projects for you to be working on as a group. And if you're not in a committee, that's wrong, and we need to fix that. So be sure to reach out to Speaker Hackbarth or Vice Speaker Kamstra. Another important thing that will be happening over this next week is SHOP is going to be participating in the Big 12 Food Pantry Competition. They are partnered with, I believe it was the University of Cincinnati, and we are in the competition, and how it is going to be measured is Instagram followers, dollars donated during the next week, as well as pounds of food donated. So the week of this competition begins on October 7th, which is this Saturday, and runs until next Saturday. So if you don't follow SHOP yet, wait until Saturday to follow them, so it counts to the competition. If you have a spare dime or a can of food in your pantry that you're willing to donate to this competition, feel free to stop by SHOP and do that as well. Also be looking forward to seeing some more on that on social media. I connected them with our public relations team, and so they have some marketing materials to help us, allow us to help them push this competition out there more. Next reminder is on the retreat. That is going to be happening October 28th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Don't forget that. It is happening in Ryman Gardens. I know some of you might not know how to work your way around Ryman Gardens. I read a couple comments in the forms that people have filled out. If you don't know, that is okay because we will be there to help. I will be sending that form out again in case it's lost in your inbox and you can't find it. So be sure to look out for that, and please make it a priority to attend that day. We are really excited for this retreat. It's going to be a lot of fun, good bonding, lots of learning. And then finally, one of the most important announcements tonight, Dr. Younger reached out and asked us to announce the Jack Trice closing ceremony, as that will be happening this Sunday. Jack Trice has played a huge part in the history of Iowa State University, and student government has also done a lot over the past year in relation to the 100-year anniversary of his death. So be sure to attend this closing ceremony. We would love to see as many student leaders at this ceremony as possible. It is at noon on Sunday on Central Campus. So Central Campus is big, but you won't be able to miss it. There will be plenty of people there. So please be sure to attend if you are able to. Once again, that's this Sunday at noon.
And with that, are there any questions for the executive branch? Speaker Hackbarth? Not for the executive branch? All right, and so seeing no questions, we'll move into the business of this evening. Seeing no special matters or external matters, we'll move into internal matters, special orders, specifically item 2023-2-043 SD. Sorry?
Mr. Vice President,
Yes?
I move to waive bylaw 3.6.3.2.2, which is the 5 senators approved by the Senate, since we are going to be having 6 senators. With no objection.
Second.
Can you read me that number again?
3.6.3.2.2. And I was corrected. It is Rule 3.6.3.2.2. My apologies.
And so with that, it's been moved and seconded without objection to waive Rule 3.6.3.2.2 concerning the number of senators seated on the Rules Committee. Is there any objection to doing so? Okay, and so we're open for discussion at that point. So Senator Azan.
Could you talk about why do we need to have one more senator for the position?
That is a great question. So most of Rules Committee is going to be graduating within the next semester to a year. So by the end of this spring semester, we will have only one individual on the committee who has any contingency of coming back to student government. The 2 appointees that we plan on seeing tonight should ideally have, another 3 years in student government, and we feel that Rules Committee would benefit from having younger members learn the ropes from older members and then being able to step into those leadership roles next year when we'll be getting new senators sat on Rules Committee.
Yeah, I get.
So with that, is there any further discussion? Senator Larson?
So I know that a lot of other committees are having this problem or have in the past. So if we're changing this, are we planning on changing a few other committees to be able to sit more senators and or at-larges, since I know there's a cap for a lot of committees?
Typically, this is done on a case-by-case basis. There is a history of us doing this every once in a while in the last couple of years, just switching seats around slightly as circumstances are necessary for it. Typically, we won't if just lots of people are interested in this committee, but given the current composition of rules with me, Anna, Max, and Cecil, and Camstra all graduating in the next year, that's a lot of institutional knowledge that's leaving, and so Rules Committee more or less decided that it was really important when we had 2 really good applicants to kind of get them in the committee and start learning the ropes of the committee. So it's more of a longevity health of the organization thing than just, we have too many people interested. But if there were other committees that really were busting at the seams and trying to do a lot of great work that needed a few more people, we could talk about doing this again. I mean, we've done it before, but it's more of a case-by-case basis kind of thing to waive a rule like this.
Senator Trotter?
What Senator Larson is talking about is PR committee is, we're definitely ham-tied of, we don't have enough people yet, but we need a lot more people reliably. So we are actually interested in a bylaw change to up the number from, I believe it's 6 members of the PR committee up to 10 in perpetuity. That's obviously not ready yet. I'll be writing that bill sometime this week, but that's something that we're hoping for.
To address that concern, that is a bylaw change that is different than waiving a bylaw for a one-time event. If that is something you are interested in, you can bring that bylaw bill to rules and we can review it and do first read on it, but that is a different scenario.
Senator Moyes, you put down your thing, I'm sorry. Senator Wellman.
All right, just real quick, I'm the only other senator on rules that will not be leaving. So I think this is beneficial because we need to make sure that our senators know our rules. That is a must, especially when we're running at the seams every single day. We need more than just one senator next year who has experience in rules. That's why this motion is a must. Guys, this doesn't happen every single year, and I'm sorry, but this needs to be said. Senators, they belong in certain places, and we have 2 great people
that belong in rules, okay? And not everybody can sit in rules, and that's fine, and that's good, because we need other senators in other places. But these are two great senator candidates that are senators that can sit on rules, that can do the job, and that are going to be here next year to get the job done. I can tell you, we do not want one senator from the last year that was just on rules, because that would just be me. That's going to take a long time for them to learn the ropes, for them to get things going, and for us to get business going. We need more than just one person. So with that, I yield.
Back to Senator Larson.
I agree, and I'm not saying that I'm not going to vote for them, but didn't we appoint all the senators that are on rules so I knew that they were going to be graduating, so we knew that this problem was going to happen?
The two candidates that we are seeing tonight got confirmed after rules had already seen its appointees. They are new individuals that. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to talk? These are new individuals who just recently joined Senate. Some of them have actually even started reading the bylaws. Some of them have started doing bill writing practice. They are interested individuals who didn't get that same opportunity as the rest of us did.
Senator Moisango.
I think we should work on some sort of succession planning so that we won't have the same problems in the future, because it takes a while learning the protocols of everything. So probably we need to make structures where we won't face these challenges again.
So it's been moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing no objection, there are no closing comments on a motion. So UC has been called for. Is there any objection to waiving this rule by way of unanimous consent? Seeing none, it shall be waived. And so with that, we'll move back into item 2023-2-043 SD, seating senators to Rules Committee with Senator Wellman.
All right, so this is the bill. We have two great nominees. I believe that you guys need to make your way up to the podium. Ask them your questions. Again, they're great nominees. We've already kind of touched on that they have already started reading the rules. They've already tried, to work out with bills and whatnot and trying to learn that process as well. So great nominees, ask questions, and hopefully we can pass this bill. So with that, go ahead.
Why I want to.
Yeah, I guess first talk about why you guys are wanting, and then we can ask questions. Sorry.
Okay, so I just recently joined student government, I believe at the beginning of September, after sitting in on a rules meeting to discuss my nomination to join Senate. I decided that was something I was really interested in. I was really interested in knowing who we have joining Senate, which committees they're joining, also keeping all of our senators accountable, making sure that we're following the rules and regulations that we need to follow, and making sure that our bylaws and rules are in the correct format and seeing that we are actively using all of those things. Otherwise, we need to go through and make changes, which is what we are currently doing. In our last meeting, we reviewed some rules, and currently I'm reading the bylaws right now, making notes about changes, edits we need to make. So I guess I'm passionate just about making sure that our senators are held accountable for their responsibility on student government, as we are representing the entire student body, as well as making sure that our governing documents and our governing documents and rules are correctly in place for us.
I'd really like to join rules after sitting in on a couple meetings and getting interviewed by them for my Senate position. It was something I immediately took an interest in. I was very interested on the bills and how they construct the bills, the writing of the bills, the passing of the bills, and also really the accountability aspect of rules, making sure we're all kept in line and we don't like overstep our bounds in places we shouldn't be. After sitting in this last week and being interviewed by them, I took an even deeper interest in like the bylaws, getting to know those bylaws and what makes us, like the rules that keep us accountable in our positions, what our duties are, what we're not supposed to do, things like that. So that's really what made me have an interest in rules and thought it was a great fit for myself. So.
And so with that, the floor is open for any discussion on the bill, starting with Senator James.
Just due to the reason we waived, do you guys have interest, if given the opportunity, to continue running on Rules Committee for the future?
I would like to continue on Rules Committee throughout my entirety of serving on student government, unless a different opportunity came up where I wouldn't be able to serve on Rules. So until that point, I plan on serving on Rules.
Unless something else does come up, I also do plan to continue serving on rules until the end of my tenure here at student government.
Got it. And then you guys brought up you both are looking at helping, reform some of the bylaws. Do you guys have what are some plans you have?
After reviewing some of the bylaws during my office hours, one of the, we actually just touched on it tonight, so that was great. But in the bylaws, 4.4, I have it down on my computer, can't remember it exactly, is about the website, making sure that our minutes are on the website every week. And we actually talked about that tonight. I brought it up to a couple senators, just asking questions about it. So it's wonderful to see that that is in action, but that was one of my main concerns after reading the bylaws.
Some of the bylaws are really out of date after going through and reading them this last Monday. There was still things there from when we were going through COVID. So they do need to update it and to be put to current times and adjusted for everything that's happening now.
Got it. Thank you. I yield.
So with that, we're open for any further discussion. Senator Azan.
Yeah, so you guys talk about some of the bylaws needs to be updated, right? So what is the guiding, guideline that actually helps you to actually make that decision about updating the bylaws? So where's the inspiration coming from, or the guiding book or something? What is the main source of information for you guys? Do you know about that? That's the question.
Federal laws, what the laws that we follow.
You can also direct that question at someone else who has that answer if
Yeah.
you'd like.
Point of information.
So their guiding principle is Rules Council as a whole. We will go through the bylaws together, and using our institutional and our experience and our knowledge as a combined unit, we will make the decision on a bylaw whether or not it is accurate and reflects what the will of student government is, or if it is outdated. So much of their guidance right now is coming from Rules Committee and its more experienced members, and I'm going to yield the rest of my time to Senator Mahoney.
Yeah, so I was the speaker last year, and while we didn't get it to my tenure because it just ended up being such a huge project, I've been working on an entire rewrite of our governing documents and our bylaws and rules for a long time, so that'll hopefully be the main thing we work with and continue to adapt to actually see hitting our floor, throughout the year as we overhaul everything.
Gotcha. So it's basically it actually went through Senate as well, right?
Oh,
Before
Senate will ultimately vote on anything.
Sounds good. I yield.
With that, is there any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing none, closing comments, Senator Wellman. Seeing no closing comments, UC has been called for. Is there any objection to passing this motion by way of unanimous consent? Seeing none, the motion carries. And so with that, we'll move into item 2023-2-044SD, seating a senator to PR committee with Vice Speaker, who is the co-author on this bill? With Speaker Hackbarth.
Okay, if the nominee would please approach the podium, which he already is, great job. So Since Senator Trotter has started with us, he has been very ambitious and is always looking for ways to get involved. And so I am very excited for him to lay out for you why he's so passionate about PR committee and why he should join.
Thank you very much. I suppose I'll just start with my first initiative, as I mentioned during the announcements. I apologize if I speak a little weirdly. I have an ear infection, so I don't hear it quite well. But as I mentioned, I just spoke to the radio, the Cure, the K-U-R-E. And that's going to be my project for the foreseeable future of getting a weekly radio show, broadcasting what student government is doing, why we're doing it, what it means, having question and answers, and basically just trying to be a further way to contact the community and really let the student body know what we're doing. I'll admit my personal inspiration is FDR's fireside chats of the 1930s. If we could achieve something like that, that'd be my dream. However, there's also just a lot of other projects to be done. We're looking to hop back onto the podcast, get that helped and moved along. And I'm just really excited to be a part of it all.
Floor is open for any questions for this evening's nominee, starting with Senator James.
I love the mic. It works so well. No offense, Zach. I'm just untalented. I guess my question is, you were bringing up the radio station. Do you have any experience of running radio programs?
Do you mean technical or?
Even just like long-term planning, because it's going to be that aspect of planning long-term content, how to strategize that, how to time it, and stuff like that.
I'll admit that I have a unique resource in the form of my uncle who runs a podcast professionally. So I have that source of knowledge. I also have taken and am taking several courses in public speaking, theater, so these more performative things where you're talking basically and trying to spread information or performance and whatnot. I'll admit that I haven't ever run a radio show before, but I don't think anyone else has either.
No, absolutely. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
And then I guess because I know it's going to be run by the same group, the podcast and the radio station, because they are of similar domain, at least from what I can tell.
I'm not actually certain about that. Senator Vice Speaker Kamstra is involved with the podcast and such, and I think that PR committee is just getting involved with it in addition to the main student body, assuming I understand things correctly.
All right, so then you guys will work together to make sure it's not like too repetitive in nature.
Yes, that's the goal.
And then I yield.
Senator Persley.
Yeah, I was just wondering, who's the primary audience of the radio show? Like, who is it reaching? Is it citizens of Ames or is it university students?
Well, it's a mixture of both, and hopefully we can actually shape that viewership or listenership by just simply letting it be known. I'll admit I don't personally know the demographics of the listeners, but I can assume it would be a mixture of both. And again, if we build it and they will come, that's the hope.
Thank you. I yield.
Senator Everhart.
Yeah, so seeing that I'm on PR committee, I just have a couple questions for you. So how would you describe your sense of organizational skills and just planning ahead skills? Or tell me about a time where you had to plan ahead far in advance because the radio show and the podcast and topics that we're going to be talking about on there is going to take quite a bit of planning.
Yeah, certainly. This comes from my high school experience. I was the battalion administrative assistant, so my job was basically helping plan out activities as far as months ahead. So I was involved with planning training exercises and daily uniform things and all kinds of events and such. So I'm very well experienced in that field. I also didn't have anywhere to go.
And then, oh goodness, what would you say your main form of communication is, as far as if it's text, email, stuff like that? Because I know PR, like I said, takes quite a bit of planning, and whatnot. So how would you describe your sense of communication?
I'll always prefer to talk in real life, but obviously email is probably the most accessible way, just for any volume of communication.
That's it. I yield.
Floor is open for any other questions for this evening's nominee. Seeing none, has been moved and seconded to end debate. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing none, closing comments, Speaker Hackbarth. Seeing no closing comments, UC has been called for. Yes, we can call UC on this. It's been moved for. Is there any objection to passing this motion by way of unanimous consent? Seeing none, the motion carries. We'll now move into item 2023-2-045 SD, seating at-larges to PR committee with, again, are you the co-author? I am the co-author. With Speaker Hackbarth.
Okay, are any of our at-larges here? All right, none of them are here. And neither is Director Harvey, so I have not personally met any of these at-larges, so I would like to move to table this bill for 1 week.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to table this bill for 1 week. Is there any objection to doing so? Without objection, it shall be tabled. With that, we'll move into the new business items of this evening, starting with item 2023-2-006F, funding triathlon club with Senator Wellman, who is not here, with Senator Cecil, who's not here, as well as Senator Eisma, who's not here. Is there anyone who would like to take this bill?
I can do it.
Senator James.
Yeah, so
Wow.
Triathlon Club is a club that I almost started reading the bill. They came to visit us. They very well spoken. We have the representative of Triathlon Club. If you can start making your way up to the podium. Yeah. Motion to waive first read. A motion to waive first read.
It's been moved and seconded to waive first read on this item. Is there any objection to doing so? Senator Mahoney?
I'm going to yield that to Finance Director Hirsch. Yes. All right, and then if you want to,
Seeing no objection, first read shall be waived. I'm sorry.
Sorry about
Go ahead.
and then you can speak more about your club.
Okay, so we basically provide training and equipment and just like planning in general for anyone that wants to participate in triathlons at Iowa State. So we have a club for that. We go compete in competitions around the area. We're in the Midwest Collegiate Triathlon Conference, so we have actually we're a college club that competes against other college clubs around the Midwest. We have a competition coming up that we don't usually go to, but we had lots of interest in it, and it helps qualify a lot of our members for the national event in April, which you generally get a chance to do another outdoor race if they're just running triathlons. So we'd like to add this event to our calendar and hopefully get funding for it so that we can help our members go to that race.
So with that, the floor is open for any discussion, starting with Speaker Hackbarth.
This is for Finance Director Hirsch or Senator Janes. The line item for the total does not match that of the enacted clause. Can you please advise what is the correct number?
So it would be the total that is listed in the bottom. We had some complications with some math that was going on and some debate, so I believe that just got missed. Can we submit that as a friendly if the author's not here? Okay. Then we would just change that to match the total in the table to match in the, yeah.
All right, so the floor is open for any further discussion. Senator Kloppenstein.
There appears to be a slight grammatical error on whereas. It needs to be spelled triathlon, I believe, or else I'm not good at spelling. So.
And so again, you can accept that as a friendly amendment if you wish.
Yeah, we will accept that. Apologies.
Are we still doing math on this, or are we good? If you would withdraw and hold on one moment, that would be great. What? Fair enough. So are you still calling the question? It's been moved and seconded to end debate at this time. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing none, closing comments, Senator James? Seeing no closing comments, we'll move into a roll call vote at this time, seeing as though this is a finance bill. When I read your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Martinez? Yes. Copa? Excuse me, Azan? Yes. Rolls? Yes. Chenoweth? Yes. Everhart? Yes. Kloppenstein? Yes. Hackbarth? Yes. Kuehler? Yes. Janes? Yes. Mahoney? Yes. Trotter? Yes. Moisango? Yes. Jones? Yes. Wellman, who is not present. Momini? Larson? Pursley? And Schneider? And with a vote of 17 to 0, the motion carries. Is there a motion to remove Senator Wellman from the roll? It's been moved. Is there any objection to removing Senator Wellman from the roll? Seeing none, he shall be removed. With that, we'll move into item 2023-2-007F, funding men's lacrosse team with... Keep getting caught on those. With Speaker Hackbarth.
All right. This bill is on first read. However, I will be waiving questions of intent to Finance Director Hirsch. This bill is on first read. I'm waiving questions of intent, referring questions of intent to Finance Director Hirsch, and I move to add Senator Wellman back to the roll.
It's been moved to add Senator Wellman back to the roll. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing none, he shall be sat. And the floor is open for any questions of intent directed at FD Hirsch. Without objection, we'll move on to the next item. Seeing no objection, I believe that concludes our business for this evening. We'll move into closing announcements at this time. Is there anyone who would like to share any closing announcements, starting with Senator Mahoney?
Hey everyone, well, there's not that many returners, but it's that time of the year again for me, so my family will be down this weekend. We'll have a huge tailgate in Lot C3 if anyone wants to come hang out before the game. This Saturday, we're starting at noon, so come have some fun with us. We'll have plenty of food. Bring your own beverages.
Senator Everhart.
Just as Coach said at the beginning, please, if you guys could fill out that apparel preference form, that would be great. Once all those responses are turned in, I hope to have them turned in by next Tuesday. So if you guys could aim for then, that would be great. But I will get those mock-ups out to you guys as soon as possible. That's all.
President Holliday.
Hi all, I just wanted to make a quick note. When we have programs here in Senate, I would really appreciate if you all would 3/4 your laptop or close them entirely because, or no, I mean just like during the programs, not right now. Just we really love it when we have programs in Senate. They're super informational and they help us out a lot to do our jobs, and it also helps the people that are coming to give us this information do their jobs, because the more that they can educate people on campus, the more we can share awareness on what they are talking to us about. So please just make sure you're giving full attention to programs. We're going to have quite a few coming up here soon because I keep getting emails asking if they can come talk in Senate, so we're really excited about that. Also, just a quick reminder, Jack Try's closing ceremony this weekend, Sunday at noon on Central Campus. So please be there if you are able to. Thank you.
Senator Larson.
Okay, this was something we talked about in PR about polos. So I just want a show of hands. Who would be willing to pay $30 or less for a nice polo that said like student government? I want you to raise your hand if you think this would be a good idea. Okay, thank you.
Back to Senator Everhart.
Okay, sorry, this pertains to that question. This is more or less like a, would you rather have a polo or a t-shirt? So just quickly, by a show of hands, it'll still be like a student government branded one, but would you prefer a t-shirt? Please raise your hand over a polo. Okay, people who would prefer a polo. Yeah, you can abstain, that's fine. All right, cool.
With that, are there any more general closing announcements? Seeing none, I'll give my brief closing announcement. Yes, thank you, President Holliday. I normally do my best to remind us, but it's great during both open forum and Senate programs if we can demonstrate respect to those who are giving presentations. So President Holliday already went over what happened at the Board of Regents, but there were some exciting updates when it comes to recommended mental health funding, and we're really looking to make sure that our voices are heard when it comes to DEI. So I'm sure we'll have more updates about that in the future. This evening we did touch on external committees, specifically Faculty Senate. And so I know a couple of you have been talking with me about joining those external committees, whether it's Faculty Senate or something else at the university. We're starting to get into that process where we're actually being able to appoint people to things, so I'm sorry that's taken a little bit. But we're really excited to start seeing student government representation on all these different groups. Speaking of different groups, we still need more volunteers for ASSET. ASSET is incredibly important, and it's actually something that we spend a significant amount of student dollars on every year. And so we're looking for people to help, make decisions about how that money is spent. And right now, we currently have Senator Eisma representing us. And as much as I appreciate him as a senator, we need 2 or 3 people at minimum. And so if that's something you're interested in, please talk to me at any time. I'd love to help you join. Just as general announcements, as far as cabinet seats go, we're still looking for directors of affordability, academic affairs, and we have not yet set anyone to nonprofit coordinator. And so if you know of anybody who's interested in kind of any of those 3 topics, wants a way to make a difference, please reach out to them, send them our way. I do want to re-emphasize the shop competition. We have a great relationship with them, and we really want to help them raise as much money and food as we can this competition. And so please consider donating or giving food if that's something that you're able to do. Beyond that, I believe that's all my relevant updates, and so I'll move over to Acting Vice Speaker Mahoney. It is. Speaker Hackbarth.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
All right. So I have an announcement on behalf of Vice Speaker Kamstra. Just to get this on your calendar, I will have more details next week, but there will be a working meeting on October 18th. Working meetings are required for our senators to attend. So next week you will know the location and the time. And if you cannot attend, that follows the same attendance policy as a normal Senate meeting. So please send an email to both myself and Vice President Margaret, and we will mark you as excused. Yes.
Does that count as an office hour?
No. Of course. Again, those are required attendance, so follow our attendance policy. If you are unable to make that, I will have more details about that next week. Now on to my announcements. Moving forward, there is going to be a bill submittal deadline. If you want your bill to be guaranteed on the agenda, I need it by Tuesday at 9 a.m. After Tuesday morning, there is no promise they will make it on, as I send that out at about 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. If you send it to me afterwards, unless it is a pressing matter, such as a finance bill that needs to go on second read, there is no guarantee that I will be able to make that motion or amend the agenda to include it, just because that is not good practice. So please make sure your bills are to me by 9 a.m. Please, just do that for me. Then I would also like to talk about the retreat, just to reemphasize that is happening October 28th. That is a Saturday, Ryman Gardens, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Mark it in your calendars now. We would love to see you there. Personal note from me, sorry about any oopsies tonight and kind of like some dead time. We were having some technical difficulties. Usually Vice Speaker Campster runs things from his laptop and he doesn't need to run and find an adapter, and PowerPoints work on his computer. So my apologies for that. Hopefully next week we'll go a little bit smoother. And last, but certainly not least, if you are interested in doing a thing called button tag, I can't say the normal name of the game because it's not live stream friendly. I broke the fourth wall there. That was very weird. Please let me know and I'll explain it to you a little bit more in detail if you're interested. But I just think that would be a really fun way for us to kind of get involved and get to know each other, and for a little bit of inner branch mingling, so you can get to know people on the Supreme Court or you can get to know people on the executive cabinet and vice versa. With that, motion to adjourn. Go Cyclones.
Senate is adjourned.